Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh to some of y'all, and peace out to the rest of you. Hit the share button because the message is more important than the messenger. This is my second time trying to record this. So in any case, I'm going to start by giving a shout out to Brazil Yesh. Shout out to him. You're going to hear an audio from one of his videos, but I'm not going to play the video on here. Now I'm going to address Comic Genius right quick. 12 minutes ago, you said, to be honest, she doesn't even deserve a reply. Why I fan the flames of a nasty lie. And the thing is that I agree that you're right. She doesn't deserve it. It's just that I want the accused to be aware of the accusations and the extent of these accusations. See, a long time ago, Edward Anderson, Don Calypso, and I discussed how we were going to be accused of things that we weren't doing. And as a matter of fact, the first ones I heard to level these accusations were some old niche biggers like, I forgot his name, the one that worships the devil. I'm not joking. Apparently he told some people he worships the devil. But I can't remember his name. Oh, yeah, Stupid Sly. Super Sly. My bad. 40 and slip, y'all. So, he's talking about, he was saying a long time ago that we're just going over there because these ages of consent are ridiculous, and that we were going over there to do dirt. And you know what? Let me let y'all hear what the cuss word this Landwell broad was saying.
Women who will encourage passport bros to go to third world countries and purchase little girls because they don't want to deal with the level of toxicity that comes with dealing with these men. And this is why I think a lot of people shouldn't have children. The fact that you're okay.
I'm in agreement with her about how a lot of people should not have children. The world sucks, and you owe your kids an apology when you conceive them and bring them into this world. But we don't agree on the reasons.
With letting a grown-ass man go to a third world country because it's not your kid and purchase a child and turn her into a breeding mare because you don't want to deal with him because he's toxic.
You cannot turn a literal child into a breeding mare or stud. Children don't conceive. And if she's talking about adolescents that are post-pubescent, then there is an age at which that is indecent because of mental reasons having to do with their mental development. But the thing is, she said child. And I think she really meant that.
Is the problem. I literally deleted a comment of someone saying, why don't you just let them go? Why is it our problem? Because they're children.
Now, as she's saying, so I do believe that she's talking about, okay, you know what? Let's say that she's talking about adolescents and actual kids, prepubescent. She's sitting up and saying that we shines believe we can travel abroad to somebody else's country, someone else's yard, and do things that even most Wyatt travelers don't do. Most Wyatt men that travel and actually are sex tourists would not want to do something like this. Most of us men aren't that attracted to something like that. We're really not. It seems to be a big secret that most men are not into underage. As a matter of fact, a lot of men aren't even into adolescents that just began puberty recently. We're not into that. So the fact of that is it's like a big secret that, you know what, most of us aren't into even adolescents, let alone actually prepubescent kids. We don't like that sort of thing. It's disgusting to most people, period. Including men. Even a lot of men that are into other men are not into this. So I don't want them being falsely accused of something like this. Just to be fair.
There are little girls who are no more equipped than you are to deal with that toxic man, but you're going to force that child to deal with it just so you don't have to.
Okay, hold on now. She wants to sit up and talk about the toxic men. Gentlemen, as I've stated before, and even Melanie King had the sense to say this to another lady and not let the lady talk so that the lady could not continue on with the BS. You only have a handful of men who have the opportunity to be toxic. Most of you listening to me, look, the highest number or the highest percentage of men that could be toxic would be 18. The highest number that could be, the highest percentage that could be. Chances are it's not 18 because 18% of thereabouts are just overly desired by the majority of the ladies. On certain dating apps, it goes down to as little as little as 7. So let's say there's somewhere in between there, 13%. Let's say you got 18% that broads want when they look at them. Mind you, these are liberal estimates, not conservative. If 18 is the percentage of men that women want when they look at them, which is probably more like 15, then understand that when this does happen, you still have to weed out the ones who have these looks but are not willing to be prolific fornicators. Even if they fornicate with a girlfriend or one at a time, they're not willing to be prolific fornicators, so you got to take them out. We don't know how many those guys are. We all know someone like that. Now, since we don't know what the percentage is, we can't subtract. I don't even know where to guesstimate how many to subtract. So let's say that that's 18%. That's still nothing. Why? Because while 18% of guys is enough for all of us to know someone like that, how many women do you know have body counts lower than the guys? Well, now we know that they don't have low body counts. We now know that these women do not have low body counts. But men do. So that means you got a few dudes out here with abnormally high body counts so that these women can have these nasty body counts without servicing a whole bunch of dudes. And she's got the nerve to talk about men being toxic. A lot of men can't be toxic. Now, most of you in my audience, you listening in my audience, chances are that you together, most of you cannot be. So let's say of my audience, it's probably more than 82 or 87% of men that can't be toxic. And that doesn't make anything wrong with you. That's the norm. See, what they've done is they've had us keeping secrets even from each other. Many of us have a few skeletons in the closet from youth. One, how badly we were doing with the broads, thinking that we were all doing worse than the next man, so we all had that skeleton in the closet. The other one is interests and hobbies we have that are not stereotypically idness, if you will. Swaggerillerific. Ghetto fabulous. We had interests that were not. Sometimes it was programming, other languages, comics, photography, things like that. You know, things that us shines were not supposed to be interested in. I'm going to let you all hear another video. This gets worse.
That's right. There are some things that I need to fix. These are hurt men that have been rejected probably their whole lives. Instead of looking within and saying, hey, maybe there are some things that I need to fix about myself, they project. And they project it mainly on the black women and say that we're these evil, vindictive beings, right?
Okay, number one, gentlemen, don't let them talk you into being introspective. You can do that privately, but most of you, by the time you reach 20, you've been forced to be introspective. You well past puberty, you have to at least pay attention, even if you don't plan to fornicate and just date. Even if you're going the chase route, you've had to at least pay attention to how women react to you. So you've already been through the introspective stage. Do not let them talk you back into going back and being introspective. Both of these ladies' voices you've heard, these are two different women. Both of them need a gym membership. She's saying they've been hurt and rejected all their lives. That's most guys. Let's say rejected, maybe hurt, maybe not, but most guys. And as a matter of fact, now because of the nuclear rejection upon which women insist on being able to perform to the point they will set up or make up a story about it. Now understand, if you didn't approach a woman and a week later you find out that everybody at school or at work heard about how she shot you down and you really never approached her, the hurt is still the same, because why would she make this up? And why would she single you out to make this up? Well, now they don't even have to single out a few guys to do it. They will make these things up because, remember, they're not being approached, but they cannot sit up and say, I don't turn men down. They can't do that. So they're going to make these stories up. That's what one of the reasons that false accusations abound. So what I'm getting at here is that she wants to sit up and say, you've been hurt, you've been rejected, even though that's most of you. And therefore you need to look into yourself because they're all acting the same way towards you, instead of saying most of us are statistically likely to reject most of you. And really, you have no business approaching us to begin with, just based on that alone. But then add to that how toxic we are and how we will even make up stories or set you up so that we can nuclearly reject you in front of friends for our own ego boost. She didn't even have the decency to talk about that. She wants to tell you, go look into yourself. Let me tell you something, even in the black Muslim community of America specifically, they've been pulling this stuff. Look into yourself. And they've had brothers fall for this. Well, you got a lot of brothers that were otherwise eligible as long as a sister was interested, talking about, well, I need to work on myself. I got some things I got to fix. A lot of them were talking like this. I know because I was there. I heard them in Atlanta, early 2000s. First decade of the 2000s, I need to work on myself. And after a while, I was like, you know what? No, you don't. Matter of fact, you need to take some things and deteriorate yourself just to match this market that's out there, to match what they are.
And basically what they're doing is having a temper tantrum because they want somebody to care about them. They want somebody to beg them to stay. That's why you...
No, actually, that's counterproductive. It's actually counterproductive. The only reason why many of us, if we really are honest with ourselves, the only reason why many of us are willing to risk letting these adult broads know that we're bouncing and leaving is so that they will have these conversations about it in front of the younger ones that are still girls and are still young enough to be innocent and have nothing to do with this, so that they don't turn around and do the same thing to the boys that are young enough to be innocent and we're trying to reach them boys. And maybe they won't turn around and do the same thing and drive those boys off. Maybe. What other benefit is there to risking letting these adult broads know this? Because if they start a counter movement, Zaddy's not always going to give them what they want, but Zaddy will give them what they want at our expense. That's their arrangement, her and Zaddy. So we know she goes to Zaddy, she petitions. Eventually, Zaddy's going to start saying, okay, Shine, you want a passport. We need some character references and all this other stuff. And those character references are going to be held accountable if you do anything stupid. That's what they're going to do. And Zaddy will probably give them something. Oh, yeah. Other citizenships are going to become very lucrative. Some nations are already selling that, but you must understand that your passport, you can't take it for granted. How do you know? It happened over here in Saudi. There was a time when Saudi men could not marry non-Saudi women until they reached the age of 30. Then the government would give it to them easily, but they had to get to 30 by themselves. And there are many of them that are doing that. My fictitious nephew was about to do that years ago. He's probably 35 now. I think he was 26 when I met him. Hadn't been married. Guy was a virgin, as most unmarried men are in this country. And this guy, sadly, he didn't have the social capital amongst his people for them to even recommend him to marry somebody else. Oh, yeah. See, he grew up in a Bedouin area, but he values education. He spoke Arabic correctly. He could speak the slang, but he could also speak it correctly. When he was younger, he picked up the correct Arabic from cartoons, spoke like that, which was the correct Arabic, and therefore his own people had no right to make fun of him. It's not a language that was forced on him, and they made fun of him for it. I kid you not. Yeah, he was like the local version of the educated lame. And I'm not validating that term, by the way. He was about to turn 30, and finally the women in his family mobilized to introduce him to a lady, a widow. Not a bad woman at all, but a widow. And he married her, started a family, and they're doing okay now. He stated that though she does have an illness, leukemia, she's a very good woman, and I'm glad to hear that. But I also look and I think, why the hell didn't they mobilize to find someone that didn't necessarily carry this health problem? Who she is probably good enough for him. But is her situation good enough for him? I'm not sure. And that's part of one of the reasons why I said I got to leave that little jerkwater town. That's the last one I lived in, not the one I'm in now. It's bad. Now, this is what happened over here. What you think these sister girls over here talking about, these hungry hippos, what you think they're discussing when they don't have a camera on them?
Getting like 25, 35 videos a day talking about this, right? And that could be just from one person. But the problem is, videos like yours that say, hey, this is a bad thing, fuels that fire, fuels that motivation for them to go, because it looks like you're begging for them to stay, right? And I know that sounds crazy, but just walk with me. I've seen tons of videos that say the same thing, like this is child trafficking, this is bad, this is wrong. And
child trafficking, she addressed that too. They're starting with these false accusations. What shine do you know thinks he can go somewhere else to do something that is highly illegal and highly immoral and get away with it? As I've stated before, believe you me, any shine with any sense, stateside or anywhere else in any other first world nation that has those kinds of proclivities, does not want to be locked up in a foreign prison. Not in the third world. It is more likely that a shine that has those kinds of proclivities is going to travel to somewhere like Scandinavia. I've stated this before. If they're going to do it, they're going to go to Scandinavia to do it because their prisons are okay. In Denmark, if they escape from the prison, they don't have any extra time to serve when they go back. If they get caught after escaping, they finish serving out their sentences, but there's no charge for the escape itself. No extra time. Which shine is going to go travel to Papua New Guinea to do something like this? Which shine you know is going to do that? What shine do you know is going to travel even to Australia to pull off something like that if Scandinavia is closer? But if they have a choice between Australia and neighboring Southeast Asia, they're going to go to Australia because they don't want to go to a third world prison where they don't have the isolated custody away from everybody else that's going to want to kill them for their crimes. It makes no sense. In all honesty, like as I stated, even many of the Wyatt tourists who go there for the horizontal poker aren't going there for partners that are illegal. They're not doing that. There have been some that have done that before because they thought they probably could get away with it. All of them was Wyatts. Brothers don't feel like we have that special privilege to do that. We know we got to go and obey the rules and obey the laws. We know how to go and move and be respectful and get respect back. We're not going over there thinking we better. We just going to be loud. The only time you hear about shines going somewhere abroad and doing that is usually to some place where it's other black folks, like certain parts of the DR or Brazil. We know not to move amongst black folks, or most of us know not to move amongst anybody like that. And the ones of us that don't know not to do this amongst other black folks still don't think we can go amongst non-blacks and start moving like that, raising our voices, talking loud like the stereotypical American tourist. This doesn't make any sense.
And the people that are in support of this movement are, yeah, look at this angry black woman. Look, they begging us to stay now. It's fueling them, right? But here's the good thing. They're the world's dumbest criminals. I just saw a video not too long ago of a woman warning them that this is illegal, right? With evidence and everything. And they're like, oh, look at this angry black woman. Like, they can't even...
You stupid broad. They were calling her an angry black woman because she was leveling a false accusation that we know not to perform. And most of us don't even want to because it's sick and disgusting. So they're trying to twist everything. Everything you say in your defense, they got some kind of lie to state about why you're saying it. These men are not going for those purposes. What man would sit up and talk about this if he was? Because I'm going to be honest. If one of you brothers says something like, yeah, man, I'm going to go there. I'm going to give me this little, and you mention some age that's just outrageous. I'm going to look at you and I'm going to say, hey, man, where you at? And I'm going to report your butt. And in all honesty, if some of you were talking about coming here to do that, I wouldn't have a chance to kill you. The authorities here, when they catch you, they will kill you. Now, they're going to give you a trial. And they want proof before they convict you. But when they get it, they're going to kill you. They better. I heard of some cases where if somebody gets a jail sentence for something like that. But I heard of cases like that. But then what happens is that sometimes they turn up, when they're released, they turn up missing. Or dead. And look, like I said, these crimes are taken seriously, but it takes proof. Moving on.
piece it together. So I really feel like we should get to the point where we don't even talk about them, because when we talk about them and when we talk about how bad what they're doing is, it's actually fueling them and motivating them to go. And they will be their own downfall. Like, they've literally made...
The real reason that we shouldn't have them talking about us is because we don't want these false accusations when we didn't do anything. These women are actually trying to get you killed. They're not trying to save the kids over there. They know we ain't going for them. They're trying to get you killed, gentlemen. Jailed, maybe, or killed, either way. See, I told you what they want is always for you to be buried alive. Or buried dead. Alive on a cell block or dead in a cemetery. But this is what they want for you. And all this is they're trying to internationalize that. And they're hoping that everybody else in the world will see you through the same stereotypical lens as Massa's grandkids over there where most of you are living now, where you're listening to me, would see you. They're hoping that. They're hoping that everybody would believe the stereotypes on TV. And I can tell you that's not really the case.
Whole social media group pages.
Yeah, leave us alone.
So I'm not going to play, out of respect, I'm not going to play Brazil Yesh's part. You can go and check his channel for that. And some of you probably have seen the videos already. But I wanted you to understand what their reasons were. When they say these things, they are saying these things so that you die. That's their purpose. They are saying these things because they believe that you deserve to pass away because you managed to get around what they were trying to do to you. They wanted to collectively form a chastity belt around your junk. That's what it was. And you found ways around that. And found out that there were other reasons to go abroad too. And now they are fist the ukpof, and even these super pro-black to Africa folks that aren't really genuinely pro-black want you to stay put. They used to talk about repatriation, reblacktriation, which I practiced, which is how I wound up here. They used to talk this stuff. And now look at them. You brothers need to stay and fight and save the community. No, we don't. Absolutely not. I'm sorry, but the anti-intellectualism is too bad. I even found it amongst a Muslim, a da'i, who stands up for black people, to his credit. But I found that same anti-intellectualism in him, because he didn't want any proofreading of what he writes. Well, I don't really care how I sound. I'm like, you know what, man, you're a disgrace. Right message, wrong spelling. You undermined your own message, and you're right. I got to sit up and tell a Muslim who studied abroad and is fluent in both languages that he failed the Malcolm X standard. And he even said that brothers should not listen to these guys that are saying don't marry African American sisters. No, brothers, listen to them and don't marry them. Muslim, Christian, or Israelite. Take your pick. Listen to these guys that are telling you this and don't marry them. Austin Holloman, with not a trace of Islam on him, is not lying. I told you I don't champion him going out to fornicate. But he's not lying when he tells you it's that bad. I've heard the Muslim women, the sisters. I've seen their arguments, heard them talking. They were like this a long time ago. When I was a relatively new Muslim, back in 2005, living in Atlanta, when I finally found the black masajid for which I'd been looking, let me tell you what happened in their case. There was one lady that got up and she tried to tell the sisters about how they were trying to change the dress code to dress less modestly than what we commanded, what they're commanded. And they jumped on her immediately. You just mad because you old and fat and ain't got nobody. They started with the shaming language, the sign language, even against one of their own, just for telling them the rules of revelation. It's that bad. And if it's that bad in our community, and it can't even be hidden anymore. I'm not even exposing our business by telling you this, because I'm not the one that told you. They did. If it's that bad, there's no other place where it's not going to be that bad. This is what I wanted you all to understand. There's such a level of hatred that they're willing to sit up here and level these false accusations. And as I stated, and as several brothers have stated, they're doing this because they want you dead. That's why they're doing it. They're doing it because they want you, if not dead, then they want you jailed, imprisoned. And they are hoping that no other nation has the same burden of proof and standards for a fair trial that the U.S. does. Because, see, a lot of these sisters don't know nothing about these other nations. They don't know about their justice systems. We don't know a whole lot, but they know even less. They just assume they're all third world backwater banana republics where people are going to go based on what they feel at the time, and that's it. And you're going to get convicted because you're an N-word, and they know this, and they've heard all about you and seen you on TV, and they're going to go by that. They're hoping for that. Nope. Some places may be like that, others won't. You actually got more of a chance of that sort of thing happening in Europe than you do in many of these other places that we're looking at going to. I hope this message helps. Thank you for listening. Black Heart, Black Mind, Black Out. Assalamu alaikum. And as always, black, heterosexual, non-select, male power, just because they don't like it. And black patriarchy until extinction or judgment day.